There we go. Okay, thanks everybody. I'm going to move pretty quickly through my normal presentation just because I want to make sure that we have time for questions. I really just kind of wanted to give you the overview of, you know, who Harness, what we are, what we do, who we're trying to help. So to give you an idea, I'm a software developer. I'm actually a sales and marketing guy. I was a sales and marketing guy for a bunch of years up here in Canada, and then when I left my a job working for one of the big carriers up here, I taught myself how to code, which kind of made me look like this guy when I was learning. But once I got a handle on it, I was building websites and software for a variety of different clients, and what ended up happening was I ended up working for a roofing contractor, and they came to me and said, "Hey, Tom, we've got this health and safety program. We have to do these things in order to make sure our guys are safe, you know, in order to cover our liability, but we're drowning in paper and we're just sick of it. Can you build us something better?" And so we built a really simple prototype app to help the guys do a weekly safety meeting, document a weekly safety meeting. And it went over so well that the company came back and said, "Well, what else can we build? What other features can we?" They got really excited about it. And so that was kind of the start of Harness. That was 4 years ago now. About a year into that, we turned what we had built into a product and started selling it to contractors across North America. And I'm pretty confident now calling Harness the #1 safety app for roofers. We've got about 5,000 roofers on the system every single day. We'll show some kind of flagship customers here in a little bit. And really, what we're trying to do is we're trying to solve problems, right? And the problem that we identified early on when we went into this very first roofer is that if you're trying to do something and you're using paper, if you're trying to move information back and forth from the field, it's just not an efficient way to do things. You know, you've got to put a bunch of forms out into the field. You got to fight with the guys to get them back, to make sure they're filled out properly. You know, they've been stuffed in the seats of the truck for a week. They got coffee stains on them. You can barely read them. And then if you want to do anything with that information, if you want to gain insight on what's happening in the field, then you have to consolidate that paper. And maybe if you're really advanced, you're going to put it into some kind of spreadsheet. But a lot of times, let's be honest, this stuff's going into a filing cabinet, it's going into a binder, and it's not being looked at, you know, unless it's needed, unless there's some kind of incident. Now, obviously, we've talked about moving information back and forth, you know, being efficient. You know, you're wasting a lot of time, you know, using an older approach like this. But the second reason, and I think this is really important, there's two reasons why you have a health and safety program. The first reason is obvious, right? You want your workers to come home alive at the end of every day. Roofing is a dangerous job. And so having a good, strong health and safety program is a moral obligation. But, you know, for the lawyers on the call, there's obviously a due diligence reason. We want to make sure that we are producing the kind of records that are going to help us if, God forbid, we do have an incident on one of our sites. We want to be, or an OSHA inspection, we want to be able to defend ourselves and have those good kind of records. And if we're not producing those kind of records, you know, if we don't have, you know, the due diligence to defend ourselves, then we're just really wasting a lot of time. And the third problem is that if that information is locked in that binder, it's locked in that filing cabinet, it's really hard to continuously improve over time. If you can't measure something, you can't improve it. If you don't know where to focus your resources, you're going to end up spinning your wheels. And so, you know, that's kind of the problems that we identified with how health and safety programs are traditionally managed. And it's a technology that we're using to address these things. And what we found is that, you know, there's a side benefit. Not only are you going to be, you know, more efficient, have better records, but what we found is with the guys in the field, you know, they used to look at health and safety stuff, you know, as kind of, oh man, I don't want to do this stuff. I don't want to do this crap. I just want to do the roof. But if you can make those kind of mundane tasks, those vehicle inspections, those daily JHAs, those toolbox talks, if you can make those things easy, then you start to build a culture of safety in your organization. And it creates a positive loop where they're thinking more positively about the safety stuff. They're likely going to do the things that you want them to do to work safer. And then obviously you're going to have less incidents, and you're going to be able to shave that EMR and cut some of those costs out of your business. And so really that's what Harness is. We're an app to work on any smartphone or any tablet device to kind of address these issues. I normally kind of dive into a few slides, but I'm going to go right into a demo here, a live demo. So let me just switch gears here. So I'm actually logged into Harness here on my computer, and I'm going to go and do a toolbox talk with everybody here. So I've logged in. I've gone to my form section. You can see I've got a bunch of different forms here. We can cover any kind of paper form that you would use today. So job site safety inspection, a vehicle inspection. I'm going to click Toolbox Talks, and I can see a list of Toolbox Talks that I've done previously here in my demo account, but I'm going to go and do a new one. So I'm going to hit my little plus button down here. I'm going to say, let's do a new Toolbox Talk. We've got our own catalog of Toolbox Talk meeting guides. So, you know, one of the problems that a lot of our customers had before they started using Harness is just finding content. NRCA has a catalog. Some of the regional associations have catalogs of things, but you know, we've kind of built our own. We can also give access to the NRCA or other regional catalogs through our system as well. So let's choose something roofing related. Let's go fall protection, and let's maybe choose floor and roof openings. So we choose floor and roof openings. Now, you can imagine we're out at the job site. We've got this on our tablet or our smartphone, and we're going over the content with the guys, and we're saying, guys, let's make sure that we've covered all the holes. It's a dangerous thing. We've covered the holes. We've covered the skylights. We've marked everything. And once we're done, you know, communicating that content, maybe asking some questions, demonstrating. And then down here at the bottom of our guide is a button. And so we're going to hit this button. And this is going to take us into our online form where we can start to capture signatures and that type of thing. So we spend a lot of time thinking about how to build forms. You know, we want the guys to never have to type unless they absolutely need to. So we use a lot of drop-down boxes. You know, here I can indicate what project I'm on. You can see here the topic is already filled out on my form. I could put in some additional notes here. On my mobile device, I could even use voice dictation to speak into the phone and put my notes in that way. I'm just going to leave that blank. You know, here's a great example of you know, checkbox field. Hey, as part of this toolbox talk, did we do any inspections? I'm going to say that we did. We inspected our PPE, and everything is okay. And then the last thing is how many people were there. So, you know, we can specify an unlimited number here. I'm going to say that there were 2 people. It's a small crew. And the last is signatures. So I'm the foreman, so I'm going to use my finger on the screen here. I'm going to sign. Everyone in attendance is going to make their mark. We'll make sure that we attach a name to that signature so that we know whose it is. And then we're going to submit this. And when we submit this, this can kick off an automated process that sends a notification back to the office, sends a notification to the safety director, whatever you want. But obviously, it's going to save this into the database here. And now if I go in and view my toolbox talks, here, August 31st is the toolbox talk we just did. If I want to see some details of it, I can click on this little PDF link here, and it's going to open me up a nice formatted PDF document that maybe has, you know, your company logo on it, all of our notes, all of our signatures, and then the second page is that meeting guide that we used to deliver the content. So in just a couple of seconds here, we've done 2 things. We've promoted safe work. We've informed our workers about you know, how to make sure that they cover holes, and we've created a really strong record that if we ever needed to go back and say, show me all the toolbox talks that Joe Smith has been a part of, we could go back and find those things. So that's kind of a quick overview of Harness. We do some other things as well. We help, with storage of documents, things like safety data sheets. We track all training. So, whether a guy's taken OSHA 10, OSHA 30, CERTA propane training, first aid CPR, we keep track of who has what and when it expires. And then really what we're trying to do is dice and slice data for our customers so that they can really focus their resources on where they need to. So for things like safety inspections, for example, once we have some data in the system, we can start to analyze it and say, where are we seeing deficiencies in our operations? So, if we're seeing 22% of the time we're seeing PPE deficiencies, then that's where we need to focus maybe our training for the next month or the next 6 months. Or, maybe we need to figure out who our worst offenders are and drill into those people. So we can really start to fine-tune our business. That's kind of a really, really fast demonstration because I want to make sure we keep the meeting moving here. I'm going to go back to my slides just for 1 second and summarize a few points. So yeah, just let me get a couple of slides ahead. So who's using Harness? Like I said, we've got about 5,000 roofers on the system every single day. Burns and Skeller Roofing is one of our flagship customers. Greg Wallach's company, Best Roofing, has recently deployed Harness. Sutter Roofing is a long-standing customer. Douglas Colony down in Denver, Colorado. Everybody's kind of made Harness an integral part of how they manage their safety program. And really, the reason why we succeed, and one of the reasons why I evangelize a lot about technology, is that I want our technology, I want our application to work the way our contractors do. And I think, from an RT3 perspective, this is something that I really want to help contractors with, is whether they're looking for a health and safety application or whether they're looking for, service, field service application or fleet tracking or any kind of technology. I want them to make sure that that system conforms to how they want to do business, as opposed to them having to change how they do things to fit the technology. And so a lot of my efforts through RT3 will be focused on just helping contractors define their requirements and evaluate solutions against those requirements to make sure they end up with the best solution. How do we handle pricing and things? Again, we want things to be simple, so we use an all-in pricing model. The monthly pricing, the monthly license includes unlimited users, unlimited custom forms, unlimited storage, full support package. The tiers are based on the savings a company is expected to reap by using the application. So starting around $500 a month. We also do a one-time setup cost to cover the work of setting a client up, going to their site, training all their users. And I sit in break rooms and put my application on people's devices. Sometimes they'll say, open up this web browser, and they'll say, what's a web browser? And so, we've really worked hard to make sure our technology is simple and easy for roofers who are not the greatest with technology to use. And I think we're doing a really good job at it. And I have people coming back to us, 6 months later and saying, man, I can't believe this. I didn't use this before. It's made my life so much better. So that's kind of how we handle things. Obviously, we're benefiting contractors through less administration. But the other area is, knowing where to focus your resources. And I really owe Steve Little, I'm not sure if he's on the call here, a word of thanks, because, we're only just starting to get information into our system. We've been around 4 years now. EMR is a modifier that's used to help determine your workers' comp premiums. And if you can get this number low, you can save a substantial amount of money. And we did just some kind of quick calculations on some of our longer-standing customers. And, if you're a company with a $3 million payroll and you can drop your EMR just 1 point, you're going to see a significant savings. And so when you factor in, your investment in a system like Harness, you're really going to see a good ROI on this kind of stuff. And that's why I think safety is one of the best investments you can make in your company. And not just in my technology, in any safety initiative, I feel like you'd see, at least your money back, if not a multiple times return on anything you put out there in the field. So that's essentially my tech talk. I do really want to open it up to questions. I saw some things coming in on the chat here, and I apologize. I haven't had a chance to look at stuff. I don't know if anything's related to that, but I'm happy to open it up to questions at this point and answer anything you want to know.
Does anyone have a question for Tom?
Tom, I would just love it if you would just share with the group a little bit. I know you talked about at the beginning how you started and what you're doing, but, bringing technology to the roofing contractors and really you're bringing something that everyone understands with safety, but you're bringing it in a new way. How is that going? I mean, what's the adoption, and what do you think needs to, how do we continue to improve that adoption of using technology for these kind of commonplace procedures and operations that we're now taking to a technology solution?
Yeah, I think it's going fairly well. It's going slowly. In terms of getting people to recognize that, that they should be adopting technology. But I think it's a steady progression. We used to get a lot of questions about, we used to get a lot of pushback initially about would our guys be able to handle this? Will our guys be able to handle, using technology this way? And that's become less of a concern over the last, 18 months. I would say more people can wrap their heads around it. The thing that we do to help a lot of our clients is that we really do a lot of hand-holding, and we do a lot of training of the field staff to make sure that they're comfortable with it. We have a kind of a 3 or 4 week break-in period where once we've created a harness account for a customer and we've built some forms for it, we put those forms out to a few key personnel to help them kind of get comfortable with it, and so that they can be mentors and teachers to some of the other staff who will have a more difficult time with it. And we've found that that's really successful. Also moving slowly, not overwhelming people with 20 new things, just giving them one thing at a time and letting them be comfortable with it, and then introducing another one. We've had a deployment we've had one customer that signed up, in January of this year, and they're still in the deployment phase. Like, they're rolling one thing out a month to their staff. And I think that that's a sound approach as well. So, Heidi, I think we're starting to see a turning point in the people that are seeking this out. We're certainly getting a lot more inbound traffic now than when we first started, and it was really just me going out there and trying to evangelize. And so, the fact that we're starting this kind of think tank now, I think is really positive and speaks to a need in the industry, but that the timing is right that we're starting up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yes, and Manny just commented here that Flynn is using it and would certainly recommend it to peers. So I'm kind of curious, is Canada, when you compare Canada to the U.S. on adoption rates, how do they compare?
Well, it's difficult to give kind of comparisons from the market. I think in general, the U.S. market is much more receptive to new things. There's a lot more competition, and so companies are looking to do new and innovative things to always have an edge. In Canada, the market's a lot smaller. Several players are established in the industry, and so there's less motivation there. Flynn is a really good example, though, of, you know, although they're a leader in the industry, they're still pushing the envelope in terms of what they're doing technology-wise. There's also some different regulatory things up here that make the adoption of technology a little bit more difficult. There's a standard for health and safety called CORE that is quickly becoming a must-have for contractors, and it's very intensive, and not all software is adapted to be able to help contractors with that standard. We are one of them, but yeah, there are little differences in the marketplace, but I think overall in North America, everybody's starting to look at things like this, whether it's health and safety or whether it's field service management or fleet management or time tracking. All those kind of applications are on the table.